Welcome to the Education Podcast, where it's all about helping people and organizations unleash their greatness. Hosted by me, Pasitawa Haufano, and my brother, that's me, Kalolo Haufano. This Education Podcast features lively discussions.
When they share it, you see that they're beginning to feel empowered.
My heart, it's full of pride for me to be at Maitai Samoa.
As well as tips on leadership and business by some of the top minds and influencers around the world.
You don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success.
Welcome to the Education Podcast. Welcome everyone to this Education Podcast episode. You're actually joining us not on Pukekoi today. This is the first time I've taken my podcast set up outside of Auckland. I'm actually here at the Mount, the beautiful Tauranga, and I'm here with Sione Molia. So he was the captain at the moment, or is captain a few times?
Vice captain at the moment. I have captained the team,
Yeah,
Yep.
on multiple occasions, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I would say also too, best place in the world, Tauranga.
Best place in the world, just had to plug that. Are we sure? What makes Tauranga the best place in the world? People want to know.
You've obviously got the big mountain up there with an awesome background of the ocean. I'd say one of the best oceans in New Zealand. Next to that, best people, lovely people. Actually, what could even compare to like having all of that stuff? So
Yeah, and you got the one and only Sione Molia who lives down here too. Makes it even more better.
oh yeah, and that too.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Toko. I appreciate this, making time, and thank you for opening your home for us to have this conversation. But to kick things off, what's something interesting about Sione Molia that people don't normally know about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think probably the one thing that probably most people don't know about me is I'm doing a maths degree, majoring in applied mathematics. I've got, I think, about 9 papers left. So, yeah, I'm not sure if anyone knows that about me. But yeah.
That is very interesting, actually. Funny fact, actually, it's on Wikipedia.
Oh, is it? Oh,
You are
true.
studying
Oh, wow.
at university. Wikipedia knows everything, man.
true.
You can't escape
Yeah,
it,
you're not
brother.
wrong.
Honestly. And also, it's not hard to find information about an All Black. There's so much
Yeah, true.
information online about you.
Yep.
But that's very interesting. Why math?
Funny you say that because I wanted to do civil engineering when I left high school.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
Yes, and but in the process of figuring all of that out, I had a look at the timetable, and at the time, I wanted to pursue rugby as a career as well, and I was like, I'm not gonna have any time for rugby. So then I applied for physics because I enjoyed physics in high school, and I know a lot of people didn't enjoy physics in high school, but I really enjoyed it because we had a really small group and a really good teacher, and I think a good teacher helps a lot. So I ended up doing physics, and then first year into it, I was like, damn, this is too hard for me. Like, I thought the jump from high school to university was just too much for me. So then I then applied for mathematics the year after because I enjoyed that in high school as well. And then, when I got stuck into it, I really enjoyed it. And then it went hand to hand with my rugby. So then I could still do a bit of maths, but still have a bit of time for rugby as well.
So obviously, it sounds like education, just like sports, is something that's very important to you.
Yeah.
You know, why is education so important? Like, you could just be like chasing this career, being focused on that and other things, but yet you're still doing a degree.
Yeah, I think it was drilled to me pretty early from my parents. Well, I guess I could say our parents as well.
Yeah.
I guess when they came over, that was probably just the biggest thing for them. And the biggest, is what they saw as an opportunity to get more out of life and then set up your family as well. So I guess that was probably the main driver around us having to get into education. And I guess just obviously just to learn and then be able to, I guess, gain more opportunities from the back of, I guess, getting education. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's education. I'm pretty keen to understand the beginning of your rugby journey. So where did it all start, this passion for rugby?
I think it might have started when we were kids, and it was more so because everyone around our neighborhood played rugby. And I don't think it was really a passion then. It was just something I liked and enjoyed, and everyone else was doing it. And it wasn't until, I guess, high school it actually became a passion. And when I went to Wesley College, not knowing anything about Wesley College, but it being a boarding school, and I lost it because I didn't want to leave home at the time. And like, I was happy being at home, going to school with all my mates. And for me, it was just something new. And then until I walked in through those doors in the doors of our dining room, and also knowing that Jonah went to Wesley College, and just seeing all the rugby jerseys of ex-Wesleyans, ex-students who had come through the school and had given back all their rugby jerseys, kind of all really inspired me. And just the culture, like they just live and breathe rugby. Like it was just non-stop. From the time you opened your eyes, you're either like going to do training for rugby till I guess you went back into bed and closed your eyes again. Like the last conversations were about rugby. Like how was rugby training? Like what could we do better to be better rugby players? And yeah, I think that was what really grew the passion for me to become a rugby player and chase that dream.
So it was basically being immersed in the culture, being surrounded in that community where, like you said, lived and breathed rugby, right? I mean, you're thinking about it 24/7 basically. You're living there.
Yeah, and it was just so fun too. Like it didn't feel like a chore. Like there was always a smile on our faces when the word rugby was brought up, and if there was a rugby ball around, and the rugby ball around, having a rugby ball around kind of just, I guess for us, just lifted everything. Like even just having it in the classroom.
Yeah.
Like just that boost for our morales, like especially in subjects that we didn't really like, and I'm not going to name any, but yeah, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. So it started off with like fun and games, and it's something that you really enjoyed, hanging out with the boys or your mates. Tell us about when it started to become a lot more serious.
So after high school, signed up with the rugby club in Karaka. My rugby club still to this day. Yeah, so I signed up with them, had a few games with them, did really well. Won some championships, a championship under 21s, and then made a lot of rep teams along the way. And then it wasn't until I got the call or I heard of Tana Umanga, looking to fill in a spot. And apparently he was coming to watch one of our under 20 games, and it was against Auckland. And I can still remember this vividly too. But we got a hiding from Auckland. Like it was an absolute, hiding. Like I think the score was like 90-something, 7.
Wow.
And their team was stacked. Anyways, I thought I played okay. And I think I was still like 2 years under the age of playing 20s. So I kind of like still felt really good about how I played, even though we got a hiding. And then, I obviously saw Tana on the stands. And then I think from then on, a couple of weeks later, I got the call. And then Tana asked if I wanted to play or come in and play for Counties at the time, which I was pretty pumped about, pretty fortunate too, because it was a really good team, and I didn't think I would ever have the chance to play Counties that early even in that team too. But yeah, I guess that's when it became serious. And at the time, I hadn't known anything about being a professional rugby player. I'm that type of person who just gets stuck into something and just gives it my all. And I'm also shy at the same time, which kind of doesn't really help me. And it didn't help me at all, because I think I wasn't being shy, you don't really open yourself up and I guess lean onto other people, and I think get into that rhythm of like questioning people as well. So I was almost in my own little box in some way, trying to like make it into this professional environment or kind of grow. If that makes sense. So then that happened. Obviously played the year, had a few games, and then I didn't get picked up the next year after. And I think because of all of that, me being shy, I had the work ethic, I knew that, but me being shy was probably the biggest factor of me not being able to get re-signed, because I wasn't questioning or asking the question, of like how I need to become a professional player, how I need to grow in certain aspects of my game. And then I kind of learned that over time. So 2 years later, I got an opportunity again to come back. And then I knew firsthand that I needed to break out of that shyness shell, ask the questions I need to ask to grow. And then, I feel like I'm going on a bit of a rant here. But then I got a chance to play sevens in a national competition for Counties Manukau. Did really well there. We took out the comp, and then Gordon Titchens, the coach of the All Black Sevens at the time, he approached me after the tournament and asked me if I wanted to play for the All Black Sevens. And again, like that spark that you get, that I got when I first made it in counties a couple of years back, it got me amped up again. But then at the time, and I was in a bit of a dilemma, because my dream was obviously to play professional rugby, but I wasn't in the black jersey. It was in the red, and that was for Tonga. And it was more so because I wanted to play in the World Cup for 15s. And I thought that was probably my best chance of playing in the World Cup, was in the red jersey. And obviously mum and dad, like having heritage from there, and always talking about Tonga too. And like we watched Tonga at the World Cup growing up too, and that was awesome. I was in a bit of a crossroad at that time when I got asked. I remember sitting down with mum and dad and talking to them about it all and like how it would all work out. And I could see my dad just being really pumped that I even got asked to play in the black jersey. But he hadn't said anything. So then I think that kind of like sparked something in me to be like, oh yes, yeah, I'll give it a crack then. And at the time I was a bit scared, and there was a lot of fear, because at that time the All Black Sevens was prepping for the Olympics. So their team was already stacked, and I was just coming in as a rookie. And I was like, I'm going to have no chance of having any game time, because they'd rather give all the game time to the boys who are already solidified in the squad so that they can build into the Olympics. Anyway, fast forward through all of that, I get my shot in Las Vegas where I debuted. Really pumped, man, really stoked at the same time as well. And then everything just kind of took off from there. Like, didn't look back. That shy kid that made the professional team at the start, he kind of got thrown out of the back seat. And then, just took off from there, man. Just didn't look back, and I'm still in the team today and still loving it, and passion's still there too, so.
And that's an awesome journey. Wow, it's interesting that you mentioned you're a shy kid.
Yeah.
Especially you now being a vice captain and having captained the team on multiple occasions as well. In other words, leadership.
Yeah.
Right? And going from being shy to now being a leader who's a lot more assertive, and what you mentioned before, holding the team accountable, asking questions, that kind of thing. I'm pretty keen to learn about the lessons that you've picked up, especially becoming a leader. What were some of the key lessons that you had to learn becoming a leader?
I think for me, the biggest one is just connection as a leader. Like when you can connect with your group, you get more out of them. And I think that would lead into like gaining trust. But even just getting transparency, like it's big for me. So when you connect, like that's what I see comes from the back of connecting to someone really well. And then I think with the connection piece comes, everything just comes a lot easier, like conversations about anything and everything. And then I feel like everything just kind of takes off from there. So I think connection first for me and is the most important thing about leadership,
I like that. Well said. I mean, especially for Māori and Pacifica, it's whakawhanaungatanga is always the beginning.
Yes.
Connecting with people, knowing you, knowing me, knowing us, you know. I guess, how do you build those connections then? Because I believe in that. What are some ways that you help connect with your teammates?
So for me, it's like things that I would do is probably just invite the boys over for dinner, have breakfast or go out for coffee. I think with our team at the moment, leaders are split into like small care groups, and we're given like boys to, I'd say, take under your wing or more so connect with them. And it's like not even about rugby most of the time. It's about like getting into the personal stuff, which I really kind of enjoy too. And it kind of helps us grow a lot of that trust, especially when we suit up and go into battle. So just having a coffee, inviting them home, sitting down at the table like we are as well, and just having yarns.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's that investment in that time you connect with them off the field.
Yeah.
On a personal level.
Yes.
I like that you, as a leader, you take them out for coffees.
Yeah.
And what about in terms of inspiring and motivating the team? Because obviously, you know, we're talking about the All Black Sevens here.
Yeah.
They're a high-performing team, right? And there's a lot of pressure as well. So there needs to be high motivation, high inspiration. As a leader, how do you do that?
I think first and foremost for us and for me as a leader, the best way I feel like we can motivate, and we've found as well, is that you have to be the best performer, firstly. You have to go out there and do everything that you've spoken about and what the team demands of you is the first and foremost thing. And then off the back of that is, I guess, the little pockets where you feel or see when your team or individuals are feeling pressure is when you lean into them. And it's almost like, I'm not sure how I can describe this, but it's a balance between care and pulling out the whip, if you kind of understand where I'm going with this. So it's like the care and the edge. So it's like picking your mate up off the ground, saying, I got you, but then also saying, bro, you need to do this. This is how, or this is what you need to do to move forward. Does it? I'm not sure if that...
That makes 100%. I mean, every team needs that.
Yeah.
It's almost like, well, accountability.
Yes.
It's clarity on and a reminder, like this is your role.
Yeah.
And you need that leader to help bring out the best in you by reminding you about your responsibility.
Yes.
But you also mentioned, it's about that love and that support. I got your back.
Yeah.
It's like out there in the field, I've heard this multiple times, and people ask those soldiers, why did you save that person? Because they would have done the same for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Just having each other's back. But I think one of the key things I've learned from what you shared is leading by example. Like you've got to be doing it first as well. You can't ask someone to do something if you're not doing it, or you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's another way to, I guess, inspire.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, and there's awesome quote that we read a book on called Extreme Ownership. And the quote was, there's no bad teams, only bad leaders. I think that's something our team our leadership group kind of holds dearly, like that quote and how we want to lead. So it's almost just like putting all ownership on the leaders and not on individuals. And it also, I guess for us, talks about like as leaders doing everything that we can so that everyone else stays on task. So like ticking off the 1%ers to like the little things to the big things. So like I think that we have as a team is making sure we help each other build good habits. So like bringing your water bottle, a book and a pen or something to take notes in a meeting. There might be something little for some teams, but that's something big for us. So making sure like every individual just does that one thing when we come to meetings. And there's a whole heap of other things. So just making sure like obviously like just the leaders leading, I'd say like taking everything on their shoulders, but then also in saying that, creating all of that so that it creates leaders naturally as well. Without having to like just throw a whole heap of things down their throat and just expect them to be leaders. Making those or doing those little things so that they become habits. So that in return, naturally they just notice that they are leaders, and then that just obviously lifts everyone else up.
I like that. I like that quote that you talked about. Obviously, it shows the importance of a leader. And the team depend on the leader.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of reasons because the leader has the vision.
Yeah.
The leader knows the people. And you do that through connection. And I guess holding them accountable individually for their responsibility.
Yeah.
And the team needs that, especially when they just need to focus on one thing, the job.
That's it.
That they need to do. And let the leader worry about putting all the pieces together, the strategy and all of that. Because you as a leader have to worry about everyone, whereas the individual only worries about themselves. In terms of doing their job,
definitely.
They still got to support the team to the left. But I like what you said there around, you're not just creating teammates or followers. It's all about how do you create or cultivate leadership in everybody. I guess how do you guys do that? I mean, you've mentioned a few things like be accountable, responsible for your own development. But what do you do as a leader to build more leaders?
I think I'll just come back to the connection piece for me personally. And then obviously just sharing my experiences when I was in their shoes to where I am now. And it's just making them understand like the bigger picture in terms of what we want to achieve and how we need to get there. So I feel like when I talk about my experiences, it sparks something in them to reflect on all of their experiences. And then in doing so, it kind of helps them to realize that they're not just a follower, they can end up becoming a leader too. Whether they choose to or not, they'll eventually just fall into that space naturally, if that makes sense.
It comes back to what you said in Wesley College when you went there and you saw like John Lomu and all of that. Like that inspired you.
Yeah.
You know, you saw, you saw a vision,
Yeah.
there's the leaders. And that's basically what you've done is you painted the picture, shared your story, your personal experiences. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. You can too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I like that. Can you talk a little bit more around the personal development? Because I know that you're reading a book, by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what do you guys do individually? Maybe as a leader, you encourage them to like, hey, work on yourself. Is there anything around that you can say?
I would say for me, personally, with personal development, I just think it's vital, more so for myself, because I know I need to grow as a person, and a lot of that leadership stuff is transferable outside of rugby. So not wanting to look too far ahead of life after footy, I just know that rugby isn't everything, and that I do need to grow in that aspect to be able to, I guess, transfer all those skills and be able to open myself up for more opportunities than just rugby or other than rugby. So I kind of see it like that. And then obviously in terms of trying to help the boys with their personal development, it's a tough one because, wow, I don't want to say it's tough, but I want to say it's tough because with the younger boys coming through, all they know is rugby. And it's trying to help them understand that rugby isn't everything, and in a heartbeat it can all change for them, and that they do need to understand that there's more to life other than just rugby too. So it's trying to find ways where we can help them to understand, but to also try to experience what life could be outside of rugby. But in saying that, like in our environment, man, like I don't want to say felt, but like you're narrow-minded because we're under the pump, like nearly every day in terms of wanting to be the best in the world. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure there as well. And our sole focus also just becomes about rugby, because you want to be the best, you want to do the best, not only for yourself, but for the team as well. So I think at the moment, it is kind of a working process with me trying to help the boys and just trying to figure out ways. We've obviously got a personal development person who helps us, which has been awesome and very helpful for a lot of the boys. But yeah, I think at the moment, in terms of helping the boys, it is a work in progress. But I guess the more people talk about it and the more they hear about it as well, the more they'll kind of understand. And yeah, I guess look into it a bit more.
Yeah. Yes, a lot of people, because they have rugby as their goal,
Yeah.
All Blacks, and once they get in there, as they feel like they've achieved their dream. But what you're saying is, yes, that's part of it.
Yeah.
But it's just temporary. It's just a job. It's a phase.
Yeah.
We we're not going to be here forever. I mean, a lot of them retire, like in their late 30s, early 40s kind of thing, eh?
Yeah.
But like, what does life look like beyond that? And we start working on that now.
Yeah.
So I guess what moved the dial for you around be like, you know what, I got to start working on personal development because I've got to start thinking about the future beyond rugby.
Yeah. I think it came when, the spark might have started when I saw a few of the older boys start to chat about life after rugby. I remember some of the boys were already like investing into property on their days off. They were like heading into the bank to do work experience or starting up like small businesses, Yeah, that's what kind of sparked the whole idea of me with personal development, and then having my son kind of just ramped that spark up. Just thinking about, yes, buddy. Daddy will be with you soon. Yeah. Oh, okay, Daddy will be with you soon. Yeah, that kind of ramped up my spark for personal development, just because I wanted to make sure that I was able to leave something for him, but also give him the opportunities that I didn't really get growing up, not just financially, but like just having a wide scope of like the many things that you can achieve, or not even achieve, but like get into, like even just this, man, us doing podcasts. Yeah, because I probably would not have seen what I would be able to see now, if that makes sense. Yeah, so just creating all of that for my son, and then just for our family as well.
I like that. I was talking to Paul, and so we were talking about motivation, and I guess what we basically concluded in that conversation was legacy was the main or deep driver. You know, people are motivated by money, or like, you know, yes, I got the black jersey, but it's like, no, I want to leave a legacy. And not just in rugby, like leave a legacy, but also a legacy for your family, you know? So I just feel like, I thought I wanted to mention that in terms of, like, when you start thinking legacy, you start thinking about your family, you start thinking about the generation, your children, children's children. It's like, what's a gift, or what can I do now that's going to be a gift for them in the future that I can pass on when I'm gone, especially. Yeah, it's very important. I want to come back to teamwork a little bit more. Because, you know, obviously leadership, and you're doing some great stuff in this space. How would you define an effective team? Like, what is it about a team that makes them really work well together?
Yeah, I think what I would say would make a team work really effectively together, and I'd put it into 3 pillars. That would be vision, having a vision, building a winning culture, and having a strong leadership group.
Can you elaborate more on the winning culture? Because I get the leadership. We talked a little bit about that. And also, what was the other thing that we talked about? Vision. Also, you talked about vision and painting that for the team as well. Talk about winning mindset, the winning mindset culture. How do you build that, cultivate that?
I'd say the winning culture or the winning mindset will come off the back of a vision. And when you have a really strong vision, that sets the tone for everyone to know where they are going. And then already you get a good gauge of who is willing to go, who is willing to want to go to where you want to go. And then off the back of that, I guess you can start building the winning culture. And the winning culture is having things like standards. And then standards where, I guess it could be things where things aren't negotiated. So you can have your non-negotiables. You can have other little standards. Like, say, what we have in our team is bringing a water bottle and a book to every meeting. And then the non-negotiables say is you run until the wheels fall off. You don't just run, stop, and then walk. You just keep running. Sorry. Also with the winning culture as well, on top of standards, is shucks. Just before I came up with that, it was there.
Man, this is so cool.
Yeah, standards. And then I guess in saying standards, like you have values as well. As a team, like as for our team, our value is love, and love is learning. So having the mindset to come in and learn. Being optimistic. So when you feel like your back's against the wall, man, like rise to the occasion, like be optimistic about it. V, being vulnerable. So like being vulnerable enough to not have all the answers and ask the questions. Yeah. So that was that shy kid. So for all the shy kids that come into our team. And then E, energy and effort. Like bring energy, bring effort. That's all we ask. So then, yeah, having values and I guess standards, which I guess they go hand in hand. And then with that leads on to, I guess, having a strong leadership group who can, I guess, hold the accountability with all of that. But also like find the balance with the care side to be able to continue the accountability. Because having all accountability, no one's really gonna just take in accountability, are they? So having the care side of the leadership foundation or the group to be able to kind of help bring them up, yeah, like grab their hand, pull them up, show them the direction, and then I guess the other part of the leadership is having to sit back and just watch them take the path that you led them on as well. But yeah, I feel like I can elaborate on this for hours. But I guess that's probably the jizz of.
I feel like you
all
need to
of
write a
those
book on it. This
I
is
think
so
our book
cool,
is
man.
already,
Honestly,
I'd say
I'm
our book is
sitting-
already relevant.
You've dropped a lot of wisdom in this, and I love that. Around building a winning culture, it starts with having a vision.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Like, what's the whole point of trying to win something if you don't know why we're doing it in the first place? And you've got the vision to work towards. And then, obviously, how do you produce that winning culture? And you talked about having standards and values. Because those standards and values help produce the behaviors and the actions that we want to build the culture. You know? And then obviously followed up by the leadership who obviously help with the vision and hold everyone accountable around what the standards and values are and stick into it as well.
Yes.
I can see how those three pillars really make a team
Yeah.
work really well together. So thank you for sharing that.
No,
That's awesome. I love to talk about, as we're nearing towards the end of our podcast, I just want to say thank you so much. And, I really do want to understand the mental toughness aspect because, there's a lot of pressure that comes with the black jersey and, there's a pressure in the game and, how do you, or I guess, what are some tips around having a mental toughness, especially when you're dealing with high pressure situations?
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that I do and some of the boys will do as well is we kind of visualize, and I think more so for me, I put myself in a situation that I could be going into. And it's not more so for me to like play it all out, but it's just for my mindset to prepare me for what's coming. So an example is, say, a final. And I've played every single minute of all the games leading up to that final. I'd sit in the changing room before we run out to warm up. And I would visualize like how things might play out for me. Like how hard I'm gonna go into a ruck, how quickly I'm gonna run, how quickly are my legs and my lungs gonna die out. And then I kind of play it out to help me prepare myself to what's coming. And I've kind of learned this over time because when I first started, I just saw everything as being hard and like it's always just gonna stay hard, which it is. But it was the mindset shift so that I take that toughness or that hardness from whatever I was doing and bank it up into, I'd say, a black box in my head. So then when the next hard thing comes, I'm like, man, I've done the previous thing. Why can't I do this? And then over time, it's built up a hardness box, let's just call it, where anything hard that was kept thrown my way, I knew I could do it because I collected all those hard moments into a box, and then told myself that I could do it, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And then, so like, don't get me wrong, like, I'll still feel so uncomfortable, anxious, and scared about doing something hard. But when I get stuck into it, I've got that hardness box, or that box that I collected all of those hard moments in my head, telling me, bro, you've been in this place before. Like, you already know how it's gonna feel. Just get into it, get stuck into it, and you'll come out of the other side. And you get another hard moment to throw into your box, so that resilience grows even more.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. And I guess the more you do it, the more resilient you become.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. Yeah, and I remember you and Bo talking about it last week, about just starting, or just start, and then once you get into it, it is tough, it is hard, but once you get into the rhythm of just starting, like, things do feel like it does come along a bit easier.
A lot more natural.
And a lot more
Feels
natural, and it becomes a habit. But yeah, I guess for me personally, like, that's how I build my resilience, especially with sevens, because sevens is so physically demanding and mental, because it's not like you can build up to it. It's like a sprint from the get-go, and it's a constant sprint. So I think that's why I kind of love our sport, in a way, because you build that mental resilience pretty quickly, because it comes at you fast, all those hard moments. But yeah, that's like how I've kind of built my resilience. Or
You've mentioned a lot of key elements that help build your resilience or prepare for hard things. Visualization,
yeah,
just getting into the mindset, reflecting. And I like that analogy, that metaphor of the hard box.
yeah,
Because in the hard box is proof that you've done it before.
Yes.
And so you keep coming back to the box.
yeah.
And you're like, I've done it before, let's do it again.
I think you mentioned it before. Things will just feel unnatural. But then you'll get into hard moments where when you feel comfortable, it's comfortable for you, because you know that's where you get your growth, and that that's where you're meant to be able to continue growing.
You become uncomfortable when you're comfortable, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know I'm too comfortable. It means that I'm not growing. I'm not doing things that's hard enough to challenge me.
Yeah.
So I like that mindset. So, look, this is pretty much the end of our podcast, and I really want to finish off with a bang.
Yeah.
And I guess, speaking to our listeners, what's a final message of inspiration or encouragement that you'd like to leave with us?
Man, I think it's something I'm starting to take on board a lot more, as well, is the advice of just not worrying about other people think, of what you want to pursue, what you want to do, what you want to get out of life. I think in this day and age, obviously there's so much social media, like people taking videos, photos, keyboard warriors. If anything, man, if there's something in your gut or in your head that just wants to like come out, and whether that's an idea that you want to create a business or just do something, just run with it and not worry about what other people think of it.
Yeah. Well, some great final advice from an elite athlete, well-seasoned athlete, Sione Molia, All Black Sevens. Thank you so much for being generous with your time and your knowledge. We're better for it. You blessed us.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, man. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks.